bring it down notches, many notches. I'll try, if we're heightened, to say, yes, I don't want you to feel this. I don't want to feel this.
I need to know what we need to do different. I need to know.
It's got to be done with your mind and your heart.
What do we do different if I have a problem? You need to tell me how to tell you different if I'm hurting you. You need to let me be able to be mad. Sometimes you're going to make me mad. I'm a human. I cannot live where it's like...
Well, then it's the same thing goes for me then. You're going to have to allow me to get mad.
Yes, exactly. If I do something that makes you mad...
You start fucking yelling.
I don't have to start yelling. I think I start yelling once it gets fucking heightened. I've gotten a lot better about that. It's just I only start yelling when it's fucking hour 11 and we're really in it. I was talking about the yelling.
You witnessed it. You're the one that brought it up. Australia was fucking great. We just argued. Let's go back there. Let's go back there in our fucking heads and in our hearts. Let's go back there. And know on your list.
Is the monster gone? Did you put him away? It's been so... When you get on that train, you get angry, you stay on it for so long, and you won't come down, you won't talk to the person that is you.
That's not always...
It doesn't have to always be the monster. But what is it? Can you put that away? Can you remember the bigger picture? You don't want to spend your life. I've asked you this so many times in fights. You want to spend your time like this. No, you don't. But I ask you because this is something you're choosing. I'm saying to you, olive branch. And you don't take my olive branches. You made me feel humiliated for offering them. You asked me to stay in Australia. I stayed, and then you walk out on me all the time. You've got to take some olive branches from me. You've got to offer them, too. You've got to be bigger than what you feel at that moment. And so do I. So do I. But if I call you on it, will you hear it? Will you call me out on it if I'm doing it?
Do you remember listening to that, Dr. Hughes?
Yes, I do.
And what is your interpretation of that? What do you recall?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
She's an expert. Overruled.
I think this is more of how this couple is trying to negotiate in the face of all of the turmoil and the violence and the abuse. I think it's important pointing out, is my recollection is that there's two Australias. They're talking about the honeymoon Australia, not the Australia where the incident happens. They go back, and that becomes a honeymoon time for them. And I think certainly hearing how this couple has talked about the monster and the person who comes out, as we talked about that cycle of violence where the person who, hurts her and hits her and controls her isn't the same person that she loves and she cares about and that she wants to be with.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. Now, you also were asked about Dr. Bonnie Jacobs and her treatment and her treatment notes. And did you review those treatment notes from Bonnie Jacobs?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to ask you to turn to, can we bring up Defendants 1059? And do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it?
This looks like the first of Dr. Bonnie Jacobs' treatment notes starting in October 17th, 2011.
Okay. And do you recall whether Ms. Heard was already in a relationship with Mr. Depp at that time?
Yes, she was.
Okay. And you testified quite extensively yesterday about Bonnie Jacobs' notes and entries there. Were those reflected in these notes?
These were the notes
Objection
that I...
leading, Your Honor.
I'm sorry.
I can ask it differently. And what, if any, of those citations that you gave to the jury were in these notes?
Objection, compound.
Overruled.
These were the notes that I was referring to yesterday.
And what was the significance of these notes to you? You were asked again about them on cross.
I found the treatment notes very significant because they had contemporaneous reports of what Ms. Heard was going through, not only what she was reporting in her relationship with Mr. Depp, but her accompanying symptomatology. What the notes revealed was there's a significant amount. Well, we see it unfold in time. We see where the violence starts, and we see how it unfolds. We see at least 3 indications of sexual assaults. We see constant pleadings and upset about his substance abuse and trying to find ways to get him help. And she joins Al-Anon to get herself help as a family member of someone who struggles with substance abuse. We see how she's reporting a lot of controlling behavior and obsessive behavior. We see that there's 2 instances where the police were going to be called in her apartment in Orange. Because of the fighting at that time, once they actually were called and once they weren't, from what I could amass from the notes. So what it does is it really shows how this relationship is unfolding over time and actually getting worse.
And then you indicated that Amber Heard moved from Bonnie Jacobs to Dr. Cohen, and that was in 2014. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what is your understanding of the relationship between Dr. Cowan and Dr. Kipper?
They were professional colleagues and they were friends. And it's understanding why Ms. Heard left the relationship with Bonnie Jacobs. It became a tumultuous relationship for her there because she was doing a lot to protect Johnny, and Bonnie Jacobs had concerns.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
No foundation.
I established the foundation. She reviewed the notes, and she interviewed Bonnie Jacobs.
I'll overrule the foundation objection.
Go ahead.
Objection, non-responsive.
I'll overrule non-responsive.
Please continue, Dr. Hughes.
The reason that Ms. Heard left her treatment with Bonnie Jacobs were, one, that Mr. Depp continued to denigrate that relationship, her therapeutic relationship. But number 2, really more importantly, is that she wanted to protect Mr. Depp because she didn't want Dr. Jacobs had some concerns about perhaps his substance using in front of his children and that she would be a mandated reporter. So Ms. Heard did not want to do anything and talk more about what was going on with Mr. Depp with her therapist for fear that something might happen. So she left that treatment really to protect Mr. Depp.
I'd like to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 1059, the treatment notes.
Objection to hearsay, Your Honor. This is what we dealt with yesterday.
Your Honor, I think that for completeness here, he's relied upon these, and they reflect the present sense impressions.
I'll sustain the objection to hearsay.
All right. Let's go to Defendant's Exhibit 1057, please. And Dr. Hughes, you also indicated that you relied on the treatment notes of Dr. Conan, correct?
Connell Cohen, yes.
That's it. Okay, and you also interviewed him as well?
Correct.
Okay, and what was the significance of what he reported to you that related to your opinions?
Well, this was a continuation of her treatment, and the treatment here where it seemed like Dr. Connell Cohen was going was a harm reduction model, really trying to help Amber stay safe in the relationship by not talking back, by leaving, by not engaging. And those are very sort of short-term strategies when you're in a relationship mired with interpersonal violence. What we also see is what I mentioned yesterday is her psychological status and functioning continues to deteriorate. She continues to have more anxiety, more affect dysregulation, sort of feelings are coming up and down all the time. She's having more sleep problems. She's going on more medication. And this sort of the conceptualization and understanding of that is, sort of exposure to repeated trauma causes psychological disequilibrium and destabilization. And we're sort of, again, seeing the trauma unfold over time. And also in these notes, I mean, certainly there are those contemporaneous reports that correspond to specific incidents, like I was speaking with you yesterday about the Boston plane incident. There are actual notes where she called him after
Objection, Your
she
Honor.
called
Yes,
him.
what's the objection?
Beyond the scope of the question.
All right,
I think
I'll
that-
sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. What, if any, additional information did you get from Dr. Cowan that assisted you in your opinions?
Well, certainly from the notes, as I was stating, that, you know, there were times where right after an incident, you know, Ms. Hurd wrote, she contacted Dr. Cohen either by text or by email and saying, you know, Johnny did a number on me tonight. I really need to see you. I'm safe. I'm hurt, but
Objection,
I'm safe.
hearsay.
I think she can rely on hearsay, Your Honor.
Sustain the objection to hearsay.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of the notes, defendants 1057.
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. Thank you.
Move to strike the hearsay testimony as well.
No, we'll continue on. Go ahead.
Thank you. You were asked about a knife. You were shown Plaintiff's Exhibit 92 and a knife that's, I think, is till death. What is your understanding of the significance of that knife and that phrase as it related to Amber Heard?
Objection, Your Honor. No foundation.
He showed it in cross-examination. I'm able to ask about it and what her understanding was. He cut her off when she was trying to talk. I'm just letting her go back in.
Her understanding of a knife?
Let's pull up Plaintiff's 92. Tom, can I get you to do that, please? I believe you in response to the questions asked by counsel for Mr. Depp, you said it depends upon what the context is. What did you mean by that?
Well, first I believe that this is the knife that has a turquoise end, and this was a time when Mr. Depp was filming The Lone Ranger, and he was in a turquoise phase, and she purchased him that because she thought it would be a kind gift. The phraseology is that Mr. Depp told her the only way out of this relationship is death.
And
Objection, hearsay.
I don't understand the objection. I think she was entitled to be able to speak to that.
But she,
Yeah, it's Mr. Depp's statement, party
all right,
opponent
I'll
admission.
overrule the objection.
Thank you. Okay. And what is your opinion? What do you think of that as a clinical psychologist in specializing in IPV and trauma?
I mean,
Objection, Your Honor. Can we
Okay.
approach?
Sure.
Dr. Hughes, do you think that the phraseology on the knife bears any relationship or significance to the opinions you've had in this case?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustain the objection.
What, if any, significance does the phraseology on the knife have to the opinions you have provided in this case?
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of the disclosure.
He brought it up in
I'll
cross. Your
overrule
Honor.
the objection.
Thank you.
So there are several things. I certainly am aware that at this time that Ms. Hurd purchased this knife for Mr. Depp, she was engaged in her whole lot of denial and minimization about the extent of the violence in the relationship. There is a notation in Dr. Bonnie Jacobs' notes about when Mr. Depp uttered this to her was around the discussions of the prenup. And he said, I don't want one because the only way out of this relationship is death. Dr. Jacobs didn't think that that was funny. Miss Heard was taking it like, oh, maybe it's endearing, maybe this is okay. But it was definitely a clinical cause of concern at the time that phraseology was used.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. Now, you listened to an audio tape